Think about Lord of the Rings, Gandalf on his majestic horse, striding down a mountain in the wonderful realm of Middle-earth, with massive castles and vast backdrops providing a feast for the eyes. That's what I want to make eventually. Now, I'm not saying that myself and Tolkien are on the same level in terms of world building, but he was born in South Africa just like me, I'm just letting you know. Jokes aside, that is the uppermost inspiration for fantasy and world building design in my opinion. Even though I'll probably never get to that level of creative talent in my life, I'll do my damned best to try. The Realm of Ulliadore is a sprawling young realm with wonder, magic, military, wilderness and civility, all fighting for its right to exist in the world. The realm itself is not massive when compared to other worlds, yet it houses many interesting locations, creatures, deities, races, fauna and flora. It is a unique and wondrous place where tales of bravery, humility and respect are told, but also stories of war, demons and death. The thing is, that's all good and nice, another fantasy realm. I'm no idiot, well, that's debatable, but I know that there are literally hundreds of thousands of fantasy stories and tales of creatures and warriors from another time and another place. These stories absolutely captivated me as a kid. I used to imagine these places and races and would find myself totally enamored. Book series like The Forgotten Realms, Dungeons and Dragons and even Goosebumps all captured my mind as a youngling. So, why should you care about my fantasy world? Well, you probably shouldn't. There are many much more established, well-rounded and better developed fantasy tales out there. I'm going to push forward and make this anyway. It might never reach a wide audience or make any meaningful amounts of money, but I want to do it anyway. Creating my own fantasy realm that houses many ages and many tales throughout itself is something that I've always wanted to do, and so I'm doing it. So, the Realm of Ulliadore is one that spans throughout many ages. In the first age, there was the age of the Enclave, who fought against the greatest servant of Diabolus and its underlings, the Turpitude, a giant creature, a dragon-like creature, who they defeated by trapping him in a magical barrier in the hollow-edged basalt after a long and arduous battle. Then, in the second age, it was the time of the Crimson Brothers, giant skeletal monstrosities summoned by Diabolus himself to wreak havoc on Earth. These creatures were defeated but not killed entirely, only banished for many ages. They returned in the time of the Reaping, in the Fifth Age, and were finally killed by the Death Rattle, the creator's chosen warrior. The first game in the Death Rattle series has already been released and can be checked out on Steam, linked below. Then there is the Third Age, the time of this story, the Gravebane Curse. If you want more details on the story, check the previous video. It details everything in a very well laid out and pretty long video. For a time, there is peace in the realm, in the Fourth Age. After this age is the Fifth Age, the time of the Reaping, brought on by the power of the curse combined with the evil of Diabolus and the remains of the Turpitude. Finally, the last age is the Sixth Age. That was hard to say. The time of the New Order of the Enclave. This realm of Ulliadore has its own deities, of course, and the main ones are those who believe in the creator, the god of this realm, a near omnipotent being, and those who believe in Diabolus, a being of pure evil, seen as the devil, banished to a realm of his own, seen as hell. Now, naturally there can be some parallels drawn between these deities and those in the real world, but it is of my own imagination and not meant to represent anything in the real world. All ideas have to be based on and inspired by something, and most fantasy worlds do have faiths and belief systems in them. So, what makes Ulliadore interesting and worth delving into? What makes it more than just another fantasy realm and a dying entire genre? Well, I believe the locations and characters will hold a strong sense of time and place and draw players into this world. I remember playing The Elder Scrolls Oblivion for the first time, The locations, creatures and characters had such a strong pull to them, they made up a finely crafted world that was easy to exist in and traverse, with interesting sights and sounds that drew the player to them. I hope to emulate that feeling of time and place, of character and emotion, of identity. So, what are some of these locations, and who are some of these creatures and characters that exist throughout the ages in Ulliadore? Well, the locations remain mostly consistent from age to age, but it's a bit harder for the characters as they come and go and are tied to the stories that I don't necessarily want to ruin for you. So I'll just give a brief overview of some of the main characters and some info of when they were alive. Then I'll talk a bit about the creatures and who they are, as well as their leaders. Let's start with locations. As of now, only one game in this realm has been published, called Death Rattle Hell Unleashed. This game features 19 maps, spanning horizontally across Ulliadore. I won't give too much info on the maps, just name them and show their locations. These are Elm Cliff Town, Lost Mead Farmlands, Lost Mead Outlands, Lost Mead Mine, Lost Mead Stronghold, Wishwind Graveyard, Wishwind Hinterlands, Red Dusk Mausoleums, Red Dusk Pits, Red Dusk Battlefield, Red Dusk Grotto, Black Falls Sewers, Black Falls Swamp, Black Falls Forest, Lark Reach Caves, Lark Reach Canyon, Hollow Edge Courtyard, Hollow Edge Dungeon, Hollow Edge Basalt. Then, the next game to be published is the Gravebane Curse. This one is the one that this entire series of devlogs is about. This game plays off in only one location, the town of Red Dusk and its tunnels, prisons, dungeons, chasms, caves, cemeteries, hallways and mines. This game is much more contained and kept, and while it is not linear per se, most of it happens in under this one town, even though it is quite a big area under the town. Then, after the Gravebane Curse, comes the Gravebane Vermintide, an as of yet unrevealed game. I won't share too much of the game itself, but I will say it is a follow-up to this game, and it is open world, spanning across much of Ulliadore. I can't give away any locations for it as of yet, so as to not spoil anything. After the Gravebane series, I will delve into the Enclave series. This is a retro-style series of games where you play as an apprentice of the Enclave Order in the first age of the realm. You will be a battle mage. The Enclave series will have 2 games, which are Eldritch the Enclave, which is the very first game in the series in terms of order, and then there is Eldritch the New Order, which is the very last one in the series in terms of order. These 2 games kick off and end the series in terms of canonical order. I won't give away too much about the locations and information about these games, as they are yet to be made, but I will share the basic locations of the 2 games. Eldritch the Enclave plays off in these locations: Lost Mead Encampment, Lost Mead Winelands, the Enclave Tower, Red Dusk Caves, Red Dusk Encampment, Hollow Edge Dungeon, Hollow Edge Basalt, Hollow Edge Ruins. Then, Eldritch the New Order plays off in these locations: Brown Bay Caves, Lost Mead Outlands, Lost Mead Farmlands, Lost Mead Forest, Lost Mead Mine, Lost Mead Stronghold, Red Dusk Pits, Red Dusk Battlefield, the Enclave Tower. Then, the Creator's Command, which is the prequel to the entire Death Rattle series. This game will be quite different from the rest and will feature a top-down style and RPG mechanics. It plays off here: Evercreek Village, Evercreek Farmlands, Evercreek Caves, Evercreek Grotto, Elm Cliff Mines, Brown Bay Dungeon, Elm Cliff Forest, Brown Bay Swamp, Brown Bay Encampment, Elm Cliff Town. Then the Death Rattle series will be finished. As you know, the first in the series has been done, but the other two are still to be finished. In the second Death Rattle game, the player travels to the Hell Realm in an attempt to overthrow the devil. The locations and events of this game are as of yet unwritten. In the third game, the player will come back to Ulliadore and the game will span over the entirety of the realm. A true open world game where many locations will be made available. This will be a massive game. One thing I'm doing though that might be interesting is I'm creating these games all so that I can reuse many of their assets down the line for other games within this series. This won't always work due to differing art styles, but it helps with planning and it gives me a lot of artwork and meshes to work with in the very least. Okay, now let's talk a bit about some of the most vital and main characters in the Ulliadore lore throughout the ages. I will try to not ruin any of the stories for any of the games, but it might be hard to reveal certain important themes and factors. So if you want to play these games all as they are released and care about discovering everything for yourself, it might be best to skip this section. Just check the timestamps. Let's start off with the Enclave Order and their members. The Order consists of Elena Swift, the Archmage and wisest mage in the realm. Marcus Blackwood, the most powerful mage in the realm. Lucas Emberheart, a powerful druid. Lucian Stoneguard, a neutral necromancer before necromancy was outlawed. Eric Ironclad, your character in the first Enclave game, a battle mage and the most versatile of the Order. After the time of the Order, magic still existed in the realm, but it was much weaker and less abundant than in the First Age. Without spoiling the story, the final actions of the first game takes up much of the magic of the realm and traps that magic. In the realm of Ulliadore, magic is like water is on Earth. There's always the same amount, but it is dispersed. Then, it's the Gravebane era and its characters. These are the characters in the Gravebane Curse, which is the game this video is based on. Lord Malachi Nightborn, the ruler of Red Dusk Town who gets murdered by his son and becomes the vampire lord that overthrows the town mines and dungeons. Lord Malachi Nightborn II, the son who usurps his father and takes power. Eamon Frostwood, your playable character who ventures into the mines and dungeons to face off against the great vampire lord. These are the characters in the Gravebane Vermintide. I will only share small details for this one. Lord Malachi Nightborn II from the first game. He has a big role in this game. Alden Thornwood, your playable character in this game. I won't share any more for now. Then, we have the simple town guard that you will play as in the Creator's Command, which plays out during the Reaping in the 5th Age. I'm not going to share any more about this game right now, as there is much to still do. So, then of course, it's the Death Rattle, probably the most vital character in the realm throughout the ages. I won't spoil the end of the Death Rattle games, so I can't say too much about the characters. Naturally, the most important character is the Death Rattle himself, whose true identity is unknown. The Death Rattle series of games doesn't have a strong focus on friendly or neutral characters, or a heavy storyline really. It is more of a run-and-gun type game, in the same vein as a Serious Sam or Painkiller. The games in the series mostly consists of foes and yourself really. It is mostly a combat game, not a story game. Then, in the final game, which is Eldritch the New Order, you play as Derek Ironclad, a descendant of Eric Ironclad. But I won't reveal any more here. So, that's it for the characters. Do you like the heroes I've constructed for the realm throughout its ages? Let me know your thoughts. Okay, now let's move on to the enemies and creatures of Ulliadore. Some of these are centuries old and have been around since the First Age. I'll list the enemies by age and power. Many of these you'll encounter in more than one game in the realm. Of course, it starts with good and evil, God and the devil, the creator and Diabolus. These are the two most powerful beings in the realm, but are unable to influence it or take physical shape in it without a break of reality and nature. They have an effect on the realm by indirect actions, such as their followers and their deity. The first follower of Diabolus is Turpitude, who is a giant dragon-like creature with hundreds of underlings. Then, the second oldest followers of Diabolus, we have the Crimson Brothers. These are massive skeletal monstrosities with great power and influence. Next up is Chal, not a directly evil being, but also not good. He is the leader of the orc population and is massive and almost an immortal beast himself. He leads the orcs even though he himself is a troll. You also have servants of nature that are corruptible but not inherently evil, such as a rak, a giant spider that is many ages old. Another example is a wraith, which is a massive worm-like creature. Then you have lesser creatures in many groups. These are orcs, ghouls, skeletons, spectres and ghosts, golems, trolls, spiders, worms, fishlings, giblets, dragons and wyverns. Now of course, this list is an as of yet list, and many more will be added as I flesh out these games. This is what I have done so far. But consider that up to this point only one game has been released in the series, so there is much yet to be added. But you can consider that for everything. All of the chapters, locations, enemies, deities, etc. are works in progress and might change and be added to or deducted from in the future. So, to list the planned games all in canonical order, these are the planned titles in the Realm of Ulliadore universe. Eldritch the Enclave, an FPS. The Gravebane Curse, an FPS. The Gravebane Vermintide. This will be either a third-person hack and slash or an FPS. It's undecided as of now. The Creator's Command, a top-down RPG. Death Rattle Hell Unleashed, an FPS. Death Rattle Hell Invaded, an FPS. Death Rattle Hell Reborn, an FPS. Eldritch the New Order. This will be either a third-person hack and slash or an FPS, as of yet undecided. I'm also considering making an RTS game in the series, but that's not yet decided. I might make that or an MMO after the series has been concluded. That would be cool. Another idea is an arena-style game where you play as any of the heroes and fight against waves of enemies from all the games. These are just ideas though, nothing cemented. Any game on this list might change or be removed or replaced, but for now, this is the plan going forward. Just take it with a pinch of salt. So yeah, I have a lot of plans as you can see. My goal is to create and release all of these games by 2035, so basically 10 years time. That feels like a long time, but it really isn't if you consider that 10 years ago classics like Far Cry 4 and Alien Isolation were released. Now, these games are not massive games. They each take 1 or 2 years to make, so it is possible. The first Death Rattle took me 3 years, but as you get older and more proficient at your job, you get faster. You learn to take better shortcuts, so to say. This wasn't meant to be a planning of my release schedule for these games, but it kind of turned out this way. This is all just what I wanted to show you in terms of locations and their significance in the world of Ulliadore, as well as some of the enemies and bosses and characters and lore. As you can see, I have hundreds of pages of lore and stories written out. Now comes all the hard work, actually doing something with it. So, that's mostly it for the Realm of Ulliadore, a place in fantasy that I hope to flesh out and make massive amounts of lore for in the coming decade. I hope to build a world that is loved by many and an escape for those that need it. I hope to make something unique and wonderful. It won't be easy, it will be massive amounts of work, and it will most probably fail. I probably won't make any real money from this, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to attempt to create this world. So, what do you think? Is it possible to create a world like this and create a player base of people interested in it? Let me know in the comments if I'm attempting the impossible, or alternatively, if you do think there's hope. Apologies for the somewhat boring video. I realized that not everyone will care about these locations and characters and enemies, but I just felt like I needed to explain some of the ideas and lore, and even though there might not be many, I'm sure some of you will have watched this far. If you did, thank you. In the next devlog, I will go back to making and focusing on this game specifically, the Gravebane Curse. I just had to get all of this stuff out of the way first. That's about it for the video. Thanks for watching until now. I know it's been a long one. Follow along for more if this project interests you, and get involved in the comments or send me an email if you have any thoughts or suggestions. I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you all for the positive response on the first few devlogs. I hope you liked this one too. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep exploring.